Okay, we are live again. Oh, no one's here. Maybe I scared them all away. Oh, no. As soon as you start talking about actually working on the problems, the real problems, everyone. Uh, okay, to resume our discussion, please do let me know if this does not share. Is that coming through? I'm hearing no answer, so I'll assume no answer is good answer. Okay, yep, coming through. So there have been a number of studies done now on the body maps of emotion. Understanding the data here is that they've colored in blue in areas where they experience less sensation during an emotion of a particular, and they've colored things in red, increasing towards yellow in areas where they have emotional sensations associated, or that where it increases during a particular emotion. Now, something that I find quite interesting is there again a number of these studies have been done already, and they found that there's this, look at disgust, for example, that there's this sort of center line through which these emotions run. And then, of course, people feel their heart beating. So you can see the heartbeat on the left side of the chest there, but also in the center of the chest towards the solar plexus. See how that's getting attention too? And then in sadness or depression, you can see the areas in the throat and in the center all the way to the solar plexus. So you can see on these maps, look at anxiety here in the heart chakra area, basically. Love, again, heart chakra, huge, but also runs down to the pelvic chakra. I think this one's called root, if I'm not mistaken. And contempt, same thing. See how it runs through the center of the body. And even when someone's depressed, if you look at depression here, you can see how everything else recedes from the extremities of the body, but the center of the body, people don't report losing sensation there because that's where the emotional, basically the subtle body is located, right? Where all of these winds are moving through, associated with your thoughts and emotions, from a Tibetan psychological Indo-Tibetan psychological perspective. So again, I find this interesting, when you look at these maps, you see something that is not identical, obviously, with what we're describing, but shows some kind of relationship to this subtle body system, where most activity starts in the heart region, and the most active centers that you have are the heart, the throat, and the head, and then some of the other centers you have, of course, are the chakras around the groin and the gut, and you can sort of see these on this emotional map where people say, well, where are you feeling your feelings? And it's mostly in through this central line, and then from that central line out to the extremities. So I raise this to say, when we do these meditations today, probably when you start to feel emotion, you're going to feel it through the center line first. You'll probably feel it here first, right? And since this is part of the reason I did so much work on body scanning first, because you're going to feel your emotions probably as, at least in part, as a tactile sensation. So we spend a lot of time working on being aware of tactile sensation, because as the winds move through the body and the emotional sensations move through the body, you're going to feel a lot of those as tactile sensations or as physical sensations. But importantly, again, this is so cool to me. Maybe this is too weird for some of you, but this is so cool to me. In Tibetan psychology, you could say, and Indian Buddhist psychology, they say that every mind, it's like a it's like a horseback rider, and is riding on a horse made of wind. They would say that wind is not actual wind. It's chi comes in a lot of different flavors, but it's basically like chi, or it's prana, kundalini. It's these sort of energies that move through the body. Or if the mind is separated from the body, there's also winds associated with those minds as well. In any case, so anytime your concepts move, there's movement of winds also, right? So this might make some sense out of when we take really calm awareness and we put it through the body, we're washing this whole system with really clean. We're going through the whole wind system and we're cleaning out all the channels with getting all the crap out of them. That's part of why you feel so calm when you get done. Okay, enough theory. So probably when we start doing these rumination meditations, your emotional sensation will start here probably, and it may move up, it may move down, but as you know from all of your other emotional experiences, all of the other movements of wind in the body, the more powerful it gets, the more it moves out. It tends to move out into the limbs and into the head, right? So as we generate this first experiential object of meditation, the task at hand will be to fill the whole body with the feeling, to make it so powerful that it is a full body experience. So when I say marinate in the feeling, I mean that your whole being becomes suffused with it. In the same way that when you are like extremely terrified, your whole body is filled with the terror, or when you're so angry that like, you have to make fists and clench your feet and right, it fills your whole system. In the same way, when we generate these emotions and these feelings on purpose for a spiritual purpose, that they fill the whole system, marinate in the whole system. And not all of them are, how to say, positive feelings. Some of them are urgent. And if you think, once again, that I'm sort of making this up, there's a tremendous uh, sutta in the Pali Canon. Oh, I don't have it in this document. I don't want to take the time to find it, but there's if you search "hair on fire" sutta, there's a sutta in the Pali Canon where the Buddha says, "Your desire to attain awakening should be so powerful, it's as if your hair is on fire or your clothing is on fire." How intense would your desire be to put out the fire if it was on your hair, right? So some of these feelings that we're going to generate, even though we're not going to do very many, should be quite urgent. They're not actually peaceful. They're meant to get you moving. Okay? So without further ado, we're going to do one of the first meditations from the Lamrim, and we're not going to do it in its entirety. We're just going to do a bit of it. Okay. Tell me that this did not go black, please. Okay. Oh, it did go black? Let's try again. Okay, tell me if that. Okay, we'll say it's back now. So, actually, let me do one more background thing, and then one last background thing, because this is important. Just briefly, I discussed before that you generate a new feeling, a new reaction, a new attitude, a new intent, a new understanding of something. When you have to put effort into it, it's called constructed realization, right? It's a constructed realization. So, Pavanka Rinpoche here says a spiritual awareness, and don't take that too literally. You know what he means here is, like, if you have a new attitude that you've generated on purpose through meditation of this kind, he says that arises after continuous reflection. So you're thinking about it, and you're using scriptural citations and reasoning. And part of your reasoning might be direct non-conceptual observation, not just logical reasoning. If you need all of that to generate it, it's called constructed, right? So if you have to sit down and think about, well, the Buddha said this, and I know from meditation experience that X, Y, and Z is the case, and logically, of course, A, B, C, and D are the case. Therefore, I should be humble. And then humility really does arise. And then you hold that humility. That's called constructed meditative realization of humility, because you built it. And there's nothing wrong with that. You have to build it first. Any skill you want to gain, you have to start basically being crappy at it, and you sort of build it or figure out how to do it. And then eventually it becomes naturalized, right? It becomes natural or normal. And so Pavanka Rinpoche says, a naturalized experiential realization is one which arises distinctly as soon as you bring a subject to mind and irrespective of prolonged reflection. And the analogy he uses is like the desire for sense objects that arise in your mind without need for prolonged contemplation. So, for example, the analogy he's using here is when you see somebody, like, whatever your weakness is, okay? Let's just put it that way. Whatever your weakness is, if it's chocolate cake, if it's a beautiful, if it's a sunset, if it's a woman, if it's a man, whatever your weakness is. As soon as you see it, you go, "Oh God, I have to have this. I want that." You don't have to think about it. You don't have to think about all the reasons. You don't have to do the logical justification. You certainly don't need to look up a scriptural authority. The desire is just, the powerful attachment is just there, right? Why? Because it's naturalized. You've already done at some point the contemplation, or it's part of your innate way that went, not innate, but when you were born into this life, that's just how you were already wired up when you came into this life. You already had those predispositions from a past life. Or if you don't like rebirth stuff, then for some reason you were born that way. Okay? So as soon as you see it, bang. Or as soon as you think about, oh, that chocolate cake, bang, the desire is already there, right? That's a naturalized realization of that condition. So what do we mean by realization, realization, realization? There's a couple different meanings for realization, but what I mean here is basically that you're having the real experience of something. It has been made real, right? In a literal sense. So if you just think the word humility, humility doesn't come up. But because I've been training in it for a while, as soon as I think humility, bang, the humility is there. As soon as I think patience, bang, the patience is there. So those are, as he's saying here, when as soon as you bring it to mind, you can generate the state. That's a naturalized realization of that condition. You see? In the same way that as soon as I think about my wife, I'm in love. Unless she's been really mean to me. Okay. So tell me if this went black. I know. Sorry. Is this one okay? I'm going to assume it's okay and begin talking. So now we're actually going to do a rumination meditation. This is from the Lamrim. This subject is called the preciousness of a human rebirth. And it has 18 points. 18. And you're meant on each point to generate an emotional reaction, a genuine shift in your attitude that is maybe not today, but eventually is so strong that it literally fills up your whole body, as if just as your whole body fills with outrage, anger when you spend too much time talking about the wrong political issue, or whatever your thing is, whatever gets you really angry. Okay, so first, just assume a meditative posture. And for the sake of getting our mind prepared, let's just drop straight into consciousness. So bring your mind inward. Make your mind like a mirror, choiceless, intentionless awareness, and observe your mental state. Observe your mental content. Okay, now that our minds are a little bit more concentrated, for those of you who don't believe in rebirth, don't take this literally. If you're not quite sure about rebirth, or you think that rebirth is not a real thing, then just be imaginative. Don't think about it in a literal sense, but think about it as sort of just a mental exercise. In the same way that you might think, well, thank goodness I wasn't born in uh, Nazi Germany in 1940, right? And you go, wow. Or you think, oh, how incredible it would be if my entire apartment was made of gold, whatever. So just think about it in an imaginative way. If you don't have a literal belief in rebirth, okay. So, once again, the topic is the preciousness of a human rebirth. So, the reaction or attitude shift we're trying to create is that we feel like the human existence we have now is incredibly precious. So, we're going to compare how incredible and precious and rare this human rebirth is to a bunch of other things that are really horrible. And then we're going to also discuss all these ways in which, in addition to not being horrible, it's absolutely fantastic. Okay? And so, first, we're going to compare, say, it's not these bad things. And then we're going to say, in addition to not being bad, it's also good. Right? So, let's begin with this. Of the four non human states, the first is that of a hell realm being. A hell realm being experiences the suffering of extreme heat and extreme cold. In Buddhism, hells can be either hot or cold. There's also a bunch of other ones. Depending on the hell in which it resides, the being's mind is completely consumed by its experience of suffering and thus deprived of the leisure to study and practice the Dharma. We should think about this and rejoice that we are not bound to such a torturous state of existence. So even if you don't literally believe in rebirth, just imagine if you lived in the absolute coldest, most miserable environment possible, where the only thing you could do, because of how terrible it was, the only thought you had was, how do I get away from this cold? Or an environment so hot that the only thought you have is, how do I get out of this heat? And the existence we have right now is not like that. How incredible is it that our environment has the right balance of hot and cold so that our mind is not completely consumed 24/7 with the desire to just simply be free of hot and cold? That's so incredible. So generate the strongest feeling that you can, how incredible it is that we're free from those two types of suffering and therefore have time to practice training our mind. It's so incredible. Make it as powerful as you can, and just like meditating on consciousness, let your mind rest on the feeling that comes and fully absorb on the feeling that comes until it fills your whole body if you can. You could have been in an environment that was so cold. The only thing you could do is try to escape the cold, but you're not. You could have been in an environment that was so hot. The only thought in your mind would be to escape the pain of heat, but you're not. And instead, you have the freedom to practice the Dharma without the suffering of heat and cold. Incredible. The second non-human state is rebirth or hungry ghosts. The mind of a hungry ghost is entirely consumed by the suffering of unbearable hunger and thirst. Thus, it is deprived of the leisure to practice the Dharma. Even if we ourselves are not experiencing this kind of rebirth at the moment, if we think about it, we can understand how difficult it would be for us to practice, even when suffering from ordinary hunger and thirst. In comparison, the suffering of a hungry ghost is 1,000 times worse. We should think about this and rejoice that we are free of this kind of suffering. Some of you took vows during this retreat, and you've been a little hungry in the latter part of the day. And maybe that little bit of hunger has interfered with your practice a little bit. In the hungry ghost realms, sometimes they can't find food or drink for 50 or 100 years at a time. And their only thought for year and year and year and years and years is that they have to find something to eat or they have to find something to drink. And this takes up their entire world, their entire thought process. How incredible is it that you are not fully consumed by the thought to pursue food and drink, that you're not starving to death, that you're not suffering from unbelievable drought, and instead you have enough food and drink so that you can practice the Dharma. How incredible! The third non-human state is rebirth as an animal. Beings born as animals suffer as a result of their extreme ignorance and stupidity, and thus are deprived of the opportunity to study and practice Dharma. Don't get caught up on this bit. What they mean here is that no matter how many times you tell a dog, for example, don't steal, don't commit sexual misconduct. Times you tell a rat, don't take the grain from the farmer's thing over there. Still, they'll go because they don't have sophisticated enough faculties to engage in really significant virtue. That's what they mean here. So because of that, because of lacking sophisticated faculties to engage in virtue, they're completely deprived of the opportunity to practice Dharma. The example he uses here is if we tell a dog or a donkey to repeat one mantra, it's almost certain that it won't be able to do it. An animal could perhaps engage in a physical activity to accumulate good karma like circumambulation, but that animal wouldn't do it with intent, mental awareness, or a wish to create virtue. Being aware of all this, when we see animals, we should generate great compassion for them. However, we should also take their example to heart and be reminded that if we ourselves were to take such a rebirth as an animal, all of the opportunities we have right now would be gone. With this awareness, we can rejoice that our precious human lives. Yes. Okay, so think about it like this. You could have been born in this life, putting aside animal rebirth. You could have been born in this life without enough discernment, without the faculties to make any meaningful progress in training your mind. And that's how animals live all the time. That's how some human beings live all the time. But you are free of that condition. How incredible is that? So not only are you not overwhelmed by unbelievable pain of cold, not only are you completely free of unbelievable pain of heat, not only are you free of endless wandering looking for food and drink, but in addition to that, you have a mind that is sharp enough to understand the Dharma. You have enough natural inclination to want to train your mind to pursue training your mind. How incredible is that compared to the rest of reality? Unbelievable. The fourth non-human state lacking in the practice the Dharma is rebirth as a long life God. In between awareness of birth and death, a long life God remains in a state of meditative concentration in which they accomplish nothing at all. So this is a bit of on the other side of the spectrum. There are heavenly realms, according to Buddhism, in which more or less it's kind of like where we are now, except your body is perfect, the environment is perfect, and there are still some Dharma teachings there. However, if you become really attached to meditative concentration, and the only thing you do is engage in concentration without engaging in training in wisdom, then you'll take rebirth in a heaven realm of a long life God. And the long life gods basically enter a state of concentration when they're born, and then right before they die, they leave that state of concentration and they do nothing in between. So they're basically blissed out their entire life. And from their perspective, it goes by very fast because time goes by very fast in a meditative state. And then you're right back to being in the states of rebirth. So from our standpoint, how fortunate is it that at this stage of your practice and your development, that people are encouraging you to not simply absorb in single point concentration and just bliss out, become completely useless to yourself and others, to no good end whatsoever. How incredibly fortunate it is, right? How incredible this is. That concentration, training in meditative concentration and bliss are being put in the right context so that they become useful for your own spiritual development and for the development of others. How incredible that is. How fortunate you didn't find yourself in a place or a lineage or a time or a rebirth where basically they taught you that just sitting down and blissing out was the end all and be all of spiritual development. How incredible. Furthermore, there are a number of human states that lack the opportunity to practice. We're going to do these all in one run, and we'll meditate on the result all together as one result. You could break these down individually, but I want to have enough time to, in the next session, go to the next topic. So the first of the four human states that lack leisure and the ability to study and practice Dharma is being born in a place where there's no Dharma. So how incredible is it that you weren't born in a place with no Dharma training? Most people in the world, even though there's Dharma everywhere, are basically born in a place with no Dharma because they never hear the word Dharma. They never even hear about training their own mind. How incredible it is that you weren't born like that. Wow. There are people who will not hear a single word of Dharma in their life. How incredible it is that you weren't born as one of those people. The second is a condition where a Buddha has not descended, meaning a place where the Buddha never came and taught. Now, whether or not you accept Buddhas as a real thing or whatever, at least consider that In this condition, which is quite rare, someone has come down, someone has given teachings that talk about spiritual perfection in a way that isn't just talking about becoming more arrogant, isn't just talking about becoming some kind of quote unquote superior human being or taking over the planet, but actual spiritual perfection through getting in touch with the fundamental nature of your own being in a way that you can directly taste, directly experience. How incredible that a being gave those teachings. And so many people of whatever it is now, 10 billion people, will never even hear the name Buddha. But you're not one of those people. How incredible is this? The third is being born with an extreme mental or physical defect, being born stupid, with severe handicap that make Dharma practice impossible. In these situations, even if you've been born in a place where the teachings were available, due to your own mental or physical limitations, you would be unable to study or practice the teachings. So consider once again, it not only are you born in a place where there is Dharma teachings, not only are you born in a time where someone gave these teachings, but you have a body and a mind capable of doing the practices. There are people who don't have that. How incredible is it that you're not one of those people? You're free from that condition. You could have been born as someone who didn't have the mental or physical capability to do this, but you weren't. How incredible is that? The fourth is being born with strong wrong views, particularly in relation to cause and effect, past and future lives, or the three objects of refuge. Being born, keyword here, strong wrong views, means that we actively and adamantly disbelieve these concepts in this situation, even if we're intelligent, born in a place where the teachings are available, if we have strong wrong views, even if we are intelligent and born in a place where the teachings are available, if we have strong wrong views, we will be unable to study and practice the Dharma. Having wrong views is considered worst of all among the 8 states of lacking leisure, and because of this, it's actually named first in Nagarjuna's letter, which is where this comes from. So all of us here who are doing this meditation today, all of us to a degree have wrong views, but our wrong views are not so strong that it has stopped us entirely from beginning down the path, beginning down a process of investigation, looking honestly, etc. How incredible! Because there are billions with a B of people on this planet who will never make it this far. You're not one of those people. How incredible that you're free from the condition of having wrong philosophical ideas or wrong religious ideas that completely block you from even making it this far. You're free from that. How incredible. How wonderful. So you're not suffering from unbelievable pain of cold. You're not suffering from unbelievable pain of heat. You're not suffering from unbelievable hunger and thirst. You're not suffering from complete incapability and stupidity because you're an animal. You're not in a time where no Dharma teachings exist. You're not in a time where a Buddha didn't teach. You don't have a body and mind that are completely incapable of studying, and your mind, which is intelligent and capable and so forth, is not filled with the type of wrong views that have stopped you from making this amount of progress. How wonderful. How precious. How rare. How astonishing. How stunning. You have all of these freedoms that others don't have. How incredible. We are blessed. Exactly. Someone said we're blessed in the chat. What a blessing. Oh, I mean, to say it that way gives me goosebumps. What a blessing. What an incredible blessing. Oh, right. What incredible grace, in a sense. How unbelievable. Seemingly little me. Exactly. If it brings tears to your eyes, this is good. Where you go, how is it even possible I have these freedoms? This is incredible. It might make you cry. The hair might raise on your arms. The feeling fills you up. And then you marinate in the feeling. Wow, I have these freedoms. And why is this teaching at the beginning of the Lamrim? By the way, this is only half of this teaching. There's another 10 points. Why is this at the beginning of the Lamrim? What does this make you want to do? I hope it makes you want to practice, right? It makes you want to take advantage of this opportunity, right? You go, I have to do something. I've got to do something with this life. If I waste this, what a terrible, I can't believe it. And then what's the next subject? By the way, you're going to die. By the way, you're going to die. Even the greatest masters died. Even the mountains eventually turn to dust. You're going to die. And you don't know when. People die when they're in the crib. People die when they're old. People die when they're middle-aged. People your age die. Healthy people die. Sick people die. You don't know when you're going to die. Even completely healthy people die. So this incredible opportunity you have, on top of that, while you're alive, most of the time you'll be eating. Most of the time you'll be sleeping. Most of the time you'll be working. Most of the time you'll be fucking. Most of the time you'll be trying to find a new person to fuck. Most of the time you'll be drinking. Most of the time you'll be doing things that aren't practice. So there's no time. So you're going to die. And you don't know when. And there's no time. And it's an incredibly precious opportunity that you're missing. You're missing the blessing. You might miss the blessing. You might miss the opportunity. So you have to do the work. If you don't do the work, it's going to be gone like that. Okay. So these are the first two subjects of the Lamrim to remind you You have this incredible opportunity. It's not going to last long. And then the rest of the Lamrim takes you through step by step how you actually progress down the path from where you are to full awakening, to whatever the highest level of capability is that you can attain, right? And so you build up these reactions, you build up these emotional, powerful drives that actually give you a mature sense of where you are, what's going on. You know, this is the reality of the situation you're in. So, Lamrim, very powerful, very, very powerful. Okay. So, next, we're going to skip way ahead in the Lamrim from these subjects that are very weighty, very, I mean, the preciousness of a human rebirth, it's so powerful, it's hair raising. And then you go to impermanence and it's just crushing. And it should crush you, right? That's the point. And then you move on to the subjects where you're actually developing all of these other aspects of the path, including the right attitudes, the right motivations, the right intentions. So Lamrim, I can't recommend it enough. But do it like this. Do it where you can see this document that's in front of you with 158 pages is just me working through the preciousness of a human rebirth. So reading different sources, trying to put my own thoughts in, and trying to make every aspect of it alive so that when I read it, I feel what I'm supposed to feel at each point, And since I like to write and read things, this is a good way to do it for me. But you need to find ways where the feelings actually come up in your heart and fill up your being. That's the point of each of these points. It's not just like to read it and go, oh, yeah, that's true, Okay. All right. 10 minutes, and then we'll come back and we'll do well, no. First, we're going to get very dark again, and then we're going to go to something very, very happy. Okay? All right. I'll see you after the break.